the never-ending battle for suspension supremacy, Ski-Doo has released a new progressive rate suspension on the new MXZ XRS and X models, which is truly a serious performer.
Our motion is a very technical suspension, but let's talk about what the benefits are with that. Really, the benefits for us overall we see as more capability, more comfort, easier adjustment should you want to adjust it. It gets us extra capability from the fact that, number one, it's got more travel than any other suspension. So you've got more travel in it to absorb the bump. Number two, it has a rising rate motion ratio to it. True progressive, true rising rate motion ratio.
On a properly whooped up trail, our test team got the bang the bolts off this new suspension in West Yellowstone. Here's what they had to offer as first impressions on the new R-Motion.
To look at it, it doesn't look all that much different than a conventional rear suspension. The external adjustments might have looked a bit gimmicky, but it works. It's, in my opinion, it's the best rear suspension going in the business. I mean, it handles the little bumps and it handles the big bumps and everything else in between, and no other rear suspension does that.
Now you've got a machine that is really nice, soft, and compliant, and then when you take those big hits, that's when the shock motion, independent of the spring motion, comes into play. And by doing this, Ski-Doo has been able to valve the rear shock so that it can take those big hits without sacrificing low speed comfort.
When you get into hitting the bigger bumps, that's when the shock travels more, and that's when all your absorption of the bump takes place, and it makes it basically unbottomable.
When you ride this thing, it's amazing how big a beating you can throw at this thing. We had some massive moguls, and this thing just bounced, launched, and it just doesn't fatigue. And the other nice thing about that was neither did the rider. This is a very well set up sled. Tons of suspension that will never bottom out, but also won't bottom out the rider.
With the introduction of the R-Motion on the MXZ, it raises the next question as to how long before it is threaded throughout the lineup.